What's good? What's good? Hope everybody's doing good out there in TV, man. Over this pack of pressures. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Let's see. Yo. Uh-huh. All right. Oh, it's over. It's supposed to be there. We there. All right. You will now watch the Juke Boys Sports Show. I'm your host, Kyng Ralph. Anything, eating nuts, drinking what's right. No logo. Got my water. Just some cereal. That's great. And for a good one, like I said, hope everybody's doing good out there in TV land. But if you're looking for a clean, no crash energy drink, DUBBYW.com. Use promo code Drew. We got you right. 20% off. I think I got one left over here. Yep. I bought multiple of them at the time. But this Peach and Peach, yes sir. And here, hit that link. Wow. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Hit subscribe. Trying to get the subscribers up on Juke Network, JUK Network on YouTube, Juke Network on Facebook. Help both of those pages get to 100 subscribers and followers on Facebook. If I get to 100 followers, then I'll be able to go live straight from that page and don't have to use the He Say, She Say channel anymore. But boy, them gushers be in teeth. But yeah, let's get into it. Well, wrong one. Top 10 NFL safeties. So considering following the series I've been doing, last week I talked about defensive tackle. This week we are talking about top 10 safeties, NFL safeties, going from 10 all the way up. So NFL scouts and execs compiled a list based off of 10 safeties in the NFL. So going from 10 all the way up, Julian Love from Seattle was not ranked last year. Mika Fitzpatrick at 9, now with the Dolphins. Buda Baker with Arizona Cardinals. Antoine Winfield Jr. at 7. Derwin James at 6. Kirby Joseph at 5. Jesse Bates at 4. Xavier McKinney at 3. Brian Branch at 2. And Kyle Hamilton at 1. And then sitting here going based off of mine and where I'll probably put people. Honestly, I don't think I would have Julian Love on my list. Because I think the impact of CJ Gardner-Johnson, no, he did just get carted off the field. A lot of these rankings are based on projection of what they think the player is going to do within the next coming season. Where I'm ranking them right now. And so I think that CJ Gardner-Johnson, I would put him in my top 10. I think Mika Fitzpatrick gets moved up. And that some of the younger players are probably people I would swap out of this. Or at least put them a little lower. Where like Jesse Bates. I think Jesse Bates is someone that could very well be in the top 3. I think that Hamilton is definitely the best safety in the NFL, and I don't think it's really close, to be honest with you. I do think that Brian Branch has a similar skill set, but the size, just pure size and athleticism, puts Kyle Hamilton in an area that, like, people who have the potential to do some of what he's able to do aren't quite like Brian Branch can guard the slot. Brian Branch can be a box safety. He can guard out wide. He can guard tight ends, but he just doesn't have the size of like a Kyle Hamilton to be able to do as much and be able to create that kind of effect or be able to be more of a nuisance in a one-on-one battle with a thin where you can pretty much put Kyle Hamilton on the best tight end. You can put him in the box and blitz, and you can put him in coverage. And so, off rip, if I gotta start my list, I'm gonna do Buda Baker at 10. Curry Joseph. Yeah, Brian Branch, Xavier McKinney. No, I'm probably leaving Xavier McKinney because I feel like he's good. Good where he's at. I probably would move him down maybe a space, or probably just keep him at 3. But I definitely think Jesse Bates is going to 2. So at 10, we're gonna go Buda Baker. I think we're gonna go CJ Gardner at 10. I mean at 9. At 8, I'll probably end up sliding Curry Joseph to 8. Leave Antoine Winfield and Derwin James at 7 and 6. Move Brian Branch to 5. Leave Xavier McKinney at 3. Jesse Bates goes to 2. Hold up, I didn't fuck around, confuse myself. All right, so Buda Baker at 10. CJ Gardner Johnson at 2. I mean at 9. At 8, I'm gonna Kirby Joseph. At 7, I'm gonna leave Antoine Winfield Jr. Oh, that's where it is because I gotta put Minka Fitzpatrick. Minka Fitzpatrick, I'll probably end up. Yeah, I'll probably end up moving him to, because I still think Minka Fitzpatrick is top 5 safety in my personal opinion. So yeah, I'll probably move Minka Fitzpatrick above Derwin James and Antoine Winfield and put him at 5. And then at 4, I'm gonna go Brian Branch, Xavier McKinney at 3, Jesse Bates the 3rd. At your I'll probably end up putting Jesse Bates the 3rd at 2, and Kyle Hamilton is definitely the best in football right now. And I don't really think it's close. But let me know what you think of the list. I do got to end up posting a graphic at the end of the year, or around at the end of the year, but the same week, I think next week, because I think the NFL season starts next week on Thursday. So I'll end up posting something on Wednesday that'll be a full display of my rankings going into the season. But let me know what you think. I made a preseason prediction going into the WNBA season, and I had the Aces making it to the finals. So the question is, am I confident in my preseason prediction? And I was not confident. I felt like you can never underestimate the heart of a champion, but there just was too many games where just really just didn't see it happening. And so, but the Aces have a 10-game win streak. They've beaten some really good teams. Thank you. They've beaten some good teams. And so they have wins over the Mercury, the Liberty, Atlanta Dream. They beat Chicago Sky. They beat the Valkyrie twice. And so right now they're coming off of a 10-game winning streak where I think it's still active too. I don't think they have any games today because they just played last night. Yeah, tomorrow night they play the Atlanta Dream again. And so I think that right now they're clicking. on all cylinders. Everybody's confident, playing together. Defense looks great. Um, Asia Wilson leading the charge, doing things that not many people before her have done, if at all. And so I think that Jewel Lloyd was really like the key for a lot of things where when you trade away a Kelsey Plum and then try to get like pretty much you're expecting Jewel Lloyd to be able to replace that. And Kelsey Plum had a great rapport with the team to where it just was like such a good fit. So her having these moments of struggling, playing alongside some of the talent that we have, really being able to step to that scorer's role, but also be in attack mode and be able to be a willing passer. I think that Joel is playing really good basketball right now. Our bench is playing good, and our starters and our stars are being stars and carrying us to victory. And so I do feel confident to answer the question. I'm confident if they play like this, I'm confident in them being able to get to the finals. I think that way that they're right now, they could beat anybody. Playing the game they played against the Atlanta Dream, we were losing, came back, and got the victory. I think that they're clicking at the right time right now. They're one of the hottest team in the NBA right now. So I do feel confident. I think that going into the season, having a certain level of confidence, but as well as ending the season, having a certain level of confidence and swagger, motivation, and some momentum going into the playoffs, I think can lead us to being able to get to a final. Now, if you ask me, you can go back, rewind the tape. 3 weeks ago, wasn't so confident. So the the WNBA has broken its single season attendance record set in 2002, while they did it in just 256 games. Actually, so in 2002, the record was set in 256 games. Where we did it, or the WNBA season did it in 220 games or something along that lines. No more than 230. I'm going to shatter it because they've since I think last year or 2 years ago, they added 4 more games to the season. Now instead of a 40-game season, it's a 44-game season. So doing it in less games while also having more games, it's only up from here. The numbers and the metrics they've always been increasing. That's why as a fan, it always kind of bothered me a little bit when it came to Caitlin Clark and how much praise she's getting for the exposure and increase in viewership. But at the same time, like it was already going up exponentially to the point where they were doing big. And so Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, the ring pointing, the hand waving, both of them going to the league. Not year, but the following year. Now we have this boom to where Paige Beckers looks amazing. Juju's coming up the pipeline. Asia playing at such a high level. New York Liberty looked good. Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston got that Indian Fever team looking good. And so what happens from here when it comes to like getting Paige Beckers a running mate down there in Dallas, something where they can at least build a competitive team. The LA Sparks, the young squad over there as well with Rickea Jackson and Cameron Brink, Kelsey Plum, Hambry. They got some good talent over there. So I do think that there's a lot of Seattle Storm got a good squad. Minnesota and Nafisa Collier pretty much be in the room until she retire or if something happens where she gets hurt. So I do think that the league is in good hands and going in the right direction. It was already going to end up like getting it. It just Caitlin Clark happened at the right time. Now instead of the hundreds of thousands, they're millions of views now. And so I'm happy for them. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, they can avoid a lockout because I think that would kill a lot of momentum. But in the end, getting the best contract and fighting for the best contract for you, I really can't argue against that. So Shedeur, in his final preseason game, struggled a bit. Offensive line was trash. Um, Pretty much they had him playing with a bunch of people that were going to end up being cut practice squad people. They put him in the game. He struggles. I think he went like 3 for 6 or something like that. Had a few sacks. And then instead of letting him play through the 2-minute drill, they bring in Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley has since been released. The game ends, and now we're asking questions of why didn't he get to finish the game? Derek Carr, I seen Derek Carr tweet, he has no horse in the race, where he was asking questions like, why didn't he get a chance to sling the rock in that drill? Stefanski said he's not sabotaging him, but it's like actions louder than these words, and these actions is kind of screaming. So, like, what do we do from here? So, since then, Kenny Pickett has been traded. So, it looks like it's going to be Joe Flacco at 1, Dylan Gabriel at 2, Shedeur at 3. So, was he sabotaged? I don't know, man. I do think that all the actions show that there's something there. Dylan Gabriel in his statements last week saying that entertainers and he's just here to compete. The owner coming out and saying that that wasn't his pick. That was the GM Andrew Berry's pick. He plays well, gets hurt, then doesn't really even get a real opportunity to really show what he can do. Like maybe Joe Flacco should have only really played a couple drives, and then at least let Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur split the first half, if not get some real run or real burn, or at least the game. But throwing him in for like half a quarter with a bunch of players that's not going to be on anybody's team or anybody's roster, I feel like it was an unfair advantage, but I'm mature enough to also understand that life ain't fair. Sometimes you just got to do what you can do with what you got. And so, was he sabotaged? I do believe he was sabotaged, but I do think that in the end, he's handled things so professionally. When you see him on the sideline, he was still engaged, didn't have bad body language, wasn't slamming anything or looked pissed off. In the end, answered the questions properly, the best way that you can, and could have handled it. The way that he handled the being asked about Gabriel. I feel like he's just shown so much maturity and that he's handling things with so much maturity that it makes you question some of the things that was being said during the pre-draft process, or at least post-draft process, when they started talking about why he ended up getting why he slid so far. So down past break, let's see real quick. I forgot to write this one. So we're doing finishing it up on the fast break. Top or Mount Rushmore of the center position in the NBA. So who we got up here? All right, let's see. So we got Kareem. So it looks like Kareem, Wilt, Shaq, Hakeem. I don't know, man. Let me think. What we got? Because honestly, the other day I was watching something and Dwight Howard got brought up. So originally, I did write this down. My Mount Rushmore was Shaq, Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem, and Bill Russell. Low this might be disrespectful, but honestly, I think that Dwight is a better player than Bill Russell. I think if you put Dwight in that era, I feel like he has a lot of individual success, at least. So I'm gonna put Dwight Howard in my Mount Rushmore. I think Shaq solidified the most dominant individual force to ever touch a basketball. Size, strength, speed, agility, everything he just brought to the game too. When we talk about prime, like there's a little bit of Shaq in the '90s and early 2000s from that too. Like he had a real rap song that was going crazy in the '90s with Biggie. He had movies, the shoes with the Reebok deals, not the Walmart Shaq shoes, and just individual success from right when he entered the league. And so Shaq off rip, Akeem Olajuwon, that run that he had um, when Mike retired, but defensive player, Finals MVP. I think he won All Star Game MVP, won MVP that year as well, and was a defensive player. I think he was the all time record with blocks. I think that he has the ability and to play in every era, regardless of how you're asking them to play. I think that when it comes to Elijah, he can play now, especially with his ability, just from a defensive standpoint, his ability to high roll and still be able to switch and make things difficult for a big or a small. Footwork, ability to block shots, still was averaging like 2 steals a game, 2 from the center position, 3 blocks, 2 steals every night, where he's pretty much 20, 4 or 5 assists, and 3 blocks, 2 steals every night. And Kareem was the leading scorer until LeBron just broke the record. The sky hook, probably the most patent special move or signature move, the sky hook, um, was a winner at every level: high school, college, NBA, multiple teams. I think that, yeah, he definitely deserves to be on this list and probably is number one on this list, to be honest with me. To be honest with you, as much as I prefer Akeem, I can't hate on Kareem and say that anybody was better than him given his resume. And then fourth spot, that's where I got to put Dwight Howard. I think that Dwight Howard has a little bit of that defensive capability that Olajuwon would have. Maybe not as slight a foot as Kareem, but still has the ability to guard the high pick and roll, contest the three, still get to the rim. Was one of the first people I've ever seen go to block a shot, had to put his hand on the backboard so he doesn't hit his head on the glass. Joint was crazy to get the shot block. Really, probably won defensive player of the year 5 times. To be honest with you, it's a little hate that I think goes his way that I just don't understand. If we just watch it, who cares about all the other stuff that people are doing? And so I'm watching it on Crochet. He's interviewing Daniel Cormier, and they're about um, they're talking about boxing and MMA pay. And brings up a good point that if we're just simply talking about the top five and what their purses are when they fight, I think there's definitely going to be a discrepancy between boxing and MMA. Boxing is going to be up here, MMA is going to be down here. But when we talk about the group as a whole, there's a misconception that he's trying to portray that they get paid about the same, where it's not that huge discrepancy that we keep thinking that boxing gets paid so much more money. Boxing gets paid so much more money than an MMA fighter. And I don't know, man. I'd have to really look it up. I didn't really get a chance to look it up today. Let's look and see if I can find it. Do boxers get paid more than MMA fighters? Well, let's see. Boxing typically pays more, especially for top tier athletes, because boxers receive a much larger percentage of event revenue, around 40-50%, where MMA fighters get about 16%. So I think that he's just trying to clean some things up. I think the one thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that like your stars are being taken care of. But I figured that much because I'm like, there's no way because a boxer like like UFC for example, they gotta pay a bunch of people and then pay the fighter. Where like boxing, there's a bunch of people that gotta get paid, but the priority list on there is the boxer gets majority of the person and they pay a lot of people. So I think it's where the money funnels through for me. But I do think it's a lot closer than what people think from a general standpoint. Like the Bellators, the Prides. I do think that like from a general standpoint, not just simply talking about the top 3 to 5 MMAers in the UFC. And so my last one, Chris Carter, had a back and forth with damn, I can't remember my man's name. Because his son is playing. Oh, Asante Samuel. And Asante Samuel got a little disrespectful. But led me to the question: is Chris Carter one of the most underrated wide receivers of all time? Yeah, definitely one of them. I wouldn't say he's the most, because I do generally believe Larry Fitzgerald is the most underrated wide receiver of all time. And the way that he gets slept on is crazy. But Chris Carter at hand, I think he's one of the most underrated wide receivers of all time. Now, he wasn't the most flashiest, didn't have like, he wasn't jumping out the gym or blowing as people. He was a possession receiver that when you threw the ball his way, he was going to catch the route. And he could route you up. Only negative, my man smoked crack while doing it. But outside of that, hell of a football player. I think, like, definitely one of my favorite receivers when I was a kid. I think his ability playing play in multiple eras, going from the 80s, 90s to the 2000s. Didn't play much in the 2000s because he was definitely older then, but I do think that he was a heck of a football player, a heck of a wide receiver. When he retired, he was number 3 in pretty much everything until Randy Moss and Terrell Owens came. So I think that Chris Carter definitely gets slept on because he wasn't one of those that was going to beat you for 60, 70-yard touchdowns. He was going to move the chains until eventually he was top 3, 4 in touchdowns, wide receiver touchdowns. So I feel like he was doing his thing. Someone you should fear. But I do got out of here, y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. And we're out. Peace.